in a way, it almost feels more like a collaboration versus, staff and
Mm.
dancers. It is, and actually, even Chris said it on the first day. He's really keen to hear from the dancers, what we liked about the rep, what was different, what we didn't, So he really wants this collaboration between dancers and himself and his team, and I think that's really important because I think the audience can see that when it's real.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Mm.
So it's really exciting, especially for me as that stage of my career where I've done a lot, and I think now I can just dive into finding who I am as a dancer. Yeah.
But Constance, so great to talk to you. I'm so glad that that I have the opportunity, and I'm so happy to know that you are involved in the London City Ballet.
Yes, me too. Really exciting. Yes.
Yeah, what a great company, and I absolutely love what you're doing there over there and the whole ethos of the company.
Yeah, no, it's wonderful. I think Chris has a really amazing way of getting, works that haven't been seen in the UK and a new creation, and he's just really revamping the dance scene, and it's amazing to be part of that. Yeah.
Now, and also just bringing ballet to people who would not necessarily have the opportunity to see.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's what really spoke to me. And actually, on our first day, he talked about the history and it used to be the Sadler's Wells Company and how it was really the company that used to tour to those cities that wouldn't usually get the national companies. And I think that for me, yeah, as a dancer meant a lot because I've always wanted to bring dance to, a wider audience. And in a way, with TV, that kind of did that, even though it's on screen. And now going to the smaller individual cities via stage kind of feels like a full picture. So no, I think it's an amazing thing. And I think it's brilliant to bring it to an audience that might not be into ballet, into dance,
Exactly.
but also I think for the next generation of dancers, it's so important because I mean, I was born in North of France, and so we had to go really to Paris to see um, big ballet shows and productions, and so yeah, I can only imagine if companies like this would have come, to Amiens, I would have
Exactly.
loved it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I
Mm.
think it's really, really important indeed.
But you talk about your beginning or your beginnings, and but what inspired you to do ballet?
Um, it's to be fair, I can't really explain it.
Mm.
Like I can't pinpoint it. Um, it's a really weird story. I was doing a lot of sports, and my family were really into sports. And then I suddenly became allergic to a lot of things, and I couldn't do tennis, and I couldn't. My mum put me into horse riding. She loved horses, and suddenly I became allergic to horses. So it was like everything had to change, and she put me into a ballet class, and I never really looked back. But I don't even remember why. It's like it was always part of my life in a
Mm.
way. The one thing that I can remember is they took me to see the Nutcracker in Paris, and apparently I didn't speak for the whole show, and I just remember the costumes and the live music, and it was like it just took me into a world, and I think that's when I realized, oh, there is, potentially a job. I think I was about 8 or 9.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and so yeah, I think it was just that feeling of freedom
Mm.
that I loved, of expression. Yeah.
Interestingly, my daughter also got inspired by Nutcracker. It's
Um,
interesting, yeah, that these ballets have something,
yeah.
that story and that imagination that takes you. But you can now safely say that you didn't choose ballet, ballet chose you.
Kind of in a way, yes. I think it did. I really think it did, and I'm glad it did. Even though it's hard at times, I'm glad it did.
Yeah, it's not easy. And also because you have to start at a young age. And how did you get to go to the UK then?
So I started in Amna in like my local school,
Mm.
and then through ballet competition, I won a prize to go into Cannes, Rosella, so south of France. I was
Okay.
12,
Mm.
so I convinced my parents to let me go to boarding school, which they did. And then when I was 15, I tried Paris Opera and I tried the Conservatoire in Paris, but didn't get in. And my teacher in the south of France was really pushing me to go into a slightly more vocational ballet school. And so I tried, oops, sorry, that's my cat, Apollo.
Fine. Hello, Kat.
And so I tried Royal Ballet School and English National Ballet School. And then I got into English National Ballet School. And
Okay.
so I moved to London when I was 15. Um, and then that's how I got up into Scottish Ballet. Ashley Page came to watch class at school and offered me a
Okay.
contract. Yeah.
Amazing. So yeah, so you were in England and had that wonderful opportunity as well.
Yeah.
So then you joined a company. Was that uh, also for you something that, I mean, how did you find company life and
Yeah.
working as a professional dancer?
I mean, it was, it's like it was a dream come true. I think when you go to vocational dance school, that graduation year is always the like, I need a job, I need a job, I need a job.
Yeah.
Um, and Scotland was to be completely honest, not in my map or in my cards. I was trying to go back to France or Europe, and it was only because Ashley Page, who was the director at the time, came to watch class in the school, um, that then I got offered this place, and it was a short contract to go into Sleeping Beauty. And I went there, and I stayed there for 3 months. And I remember it felt like the longest audition because
Really?
it was six of us that were extra, six female ladies, and then he only had one contract. So
Oh,
it was
yeah.
like the longest audition of my life because it was over like the 3 months of shows and a long Christmas tour. And then he kept three of us, and it was amazing. We then toured to China and did a more double bill work. And then after that, I was lucky enough to get the full contract. So it actually it was
Amazing.
yeah, it was like an amazing experience. But at the same time, when I look back at it now, being older, I'm like, gosh, that was hard. But I didn't
Yeah.
really realize. I think at the time I was just so happy to be working in a professional company and learning and
Mm.
seeing other dancers. And then from then on, it was brilliant. I think Scottish Ballet was always the company that we did many shows. So I got a lot of stage time and amazing choreographers to work with. And then I met Jamil,
Okay.
then my
So you
husband.
had to be there. But I actually spoke to Lewis Gardner, and he used to train also. He used to train with my daughter. But we were talking about this thing where you, as a dancer, when you're in training and when you're in at the schools, you have this idea of where you want to go to, but sometimes it doesn't happen that way, you know, and you go somewhere else. And he was also talking about him meeting his partner and his life, how it turned out. It just had to be that way, where he went.
Yeah. No,
Mm.
it's true. It's funny. It's kind of that kind of destiny kind of,
Yeah.
question. Is it all written? Is it not? But yeah, I think it was great and it was the way it had to be, and it was brilliant. I mean, Glasgow was a wonderful city. The weather, I was never going to be a big fan, but what was amazing also that we toured a lot,
Oh
uh,
yeah.
nationally but internationally. So, and I
Mm.
love traveling, and I was touring with Jamil, so that was such an amazing experience. I think as a young dancer, and then I mean I stayed in the company 15 years, so I wasn't
Wow.
young afterwards. But yeah, it was really a great place to be.
And it's also prepared you now for what you're doing now, because you're also in the touring company at the moment.
Yes. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, in a way, it's, north, and then I just moved a little bit south. And it's amazing because Chris was like, "Oh, you must have done all those cities." But actually, with Scottish, we kind of said north, we stayed north of the border. And if we came
Ah,
to London,
okay.
it's London or Belfast. So actually, I haven't really done, the English cities. So yeah, I'm excited to see different theatres, to be in different theatres, learn new rep. And because it is a much smaller company compared to what I was used to, um, that time on stage will definitely be there, and, swapping roles. And we all kind of in different journeys of our career. And I think that's actually really, really interesting because um, I think myself and the slightly older dancers get inspired by the younger ones because we see their drive, and, they're relentless, and they're
Yeah.
just hungry and no fear. And that's really inspiring for me. And I think, at the same time, the younger dancers can see the sort of what experience brings into a career. So it's actually a really special time in the studio every day because you get to learn from one another, and you get to share the same rep. And it's amazing rep. It's stuff that I haven't done before. So that's exciting for me.
And I think also this a smaller company that's more sort of that connection that you build with the people, is also different from being in a bigger company.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I think you really get to know one another. You get to share experience to one another. And because there's not that many people, it does naturally bring you closer. And I think what's amazing is, in companies quite often it is your career or roles happen because of what you get given with casting. And that's
Exactly.
that's you know
Mm.
that's tough. And in the smaller companies, because there's so much more rotation, because you need that to make the show happen. um I think that is a wonderful thing because it kind of breaks the barrier of, you've got to be at a certain level, you've got to be at a certain experience to then do that certain type of roles. So that's really amazing. And I think for an audience perspective, and also I think for the staff, the dance staff, that you get to know the dancers and
Oh.
their personalities, and I think that's
Mm.
really nice. And as a dancer, you feel like you feel like you're growing as an artist, and it's your own journey versus the journey of the company in a certain
I,
way.
yeah, I totally understand what you're saying,
Yeah,
and I was just thinking now that you mentioned this point that sometimes young dancers come in a company and it takes them so long
yeah,
to prove themselves
yeah,
to get recognized, or
yeah,
and it's sometimes just because of practical reasons that they're not casted, but for them then that they have to work so hard to just
yeah.
get that
That recognition of,
opportunity, and yeah.
yeah. And I think, yeah, and sometimes the opportunities come quicker because there's an injury or something, and then you get thrown in. But sometimes you do have to, and I think that can be Not for everyone, but I think that can sort of kill your drive sometimes as a
Yeah.
dancer, where you feel like you're trying to show and show, but
Mm.
even though it's not that you're not being seen, it's just there's so much to do that, you're not
Yeah.
the first person that they have to deal with. Yeah.
But do you also feel, because this is London City Ballet, it's a old company, shall I say, it's the old idea, but a new company, a fresh company, and with Chris, with all his wonderful ideas.
Yeah.
Do you feel that energy also as a dancer? That you feel there's more almost, like you say, that artistic,
Yeah.
that opportunity for you to express yourself artistically.
Yeah, 100%. I think Chris and his team are really amazing at, well, it's going to sound cliche, but treating us like professional adults and athletes, and they allow you to be yourself in certain way. Um, and I think because you have to learn so many different roles, um, sometimes there's also as an artist you think, oh, this is feels comfortable. This is me, and there's certain roles that you
Mm,
feel that are not you, but actually because in that a London City Ballet you'd have to learn many. It challenges you in a way, and I can already tell, like learning certain things, especially in the Ratmansky Ballet, I'm finding things more challenging, and I know at the end of the season it's probably those ones that I'm gonna
oh,
I've loved
really?
this. I think because yeah, that
Yeah.
it pushes you in a different way, and I think that is so so important as a dancer, and that can get lost in bigger companies. And I think
Mm,
Chris has this amazing eye to just um, push a dancer in a positive and confident way, and they listen to us and they take care of us. And even with the schedule, if you're not needed, you released, and they really kind of looked after this kind of, and it in a way it almost feels more like a collaboration versus staff and
mm,
dancers. It is, and he actually, even Chris said it on the first day. He's really keen to hear from the dancers, what we liked about the rep, what was different, what we didn't, So he really wants this collaboration between dancers and himself and his team. And I think that's really important because I think the audience can see that when it's real.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Mm,
So it's really exciting, especially for me as that stage of my career where I've done a lot, and I think now I can just dive into finding who I am as a dancer. Yeah,
mm.
it's
And I
lovely.
think that what you mentioned now, that that you have the opportunity to say about what you feel about the repertoire also,
Mm.
because I think sometimes in companies, when the director keep on putting up things, or bringing in things that some dancers are just not fond of, then
Yeah,
I mean, up to a point you have to do it, but then if it continues, then it must be difficult.
it is difficult. It's really difficult, and I
Mm,
think obviously as a director there is so much more to it. You have to
of course.
usually there's a board or, sponsorship and ticket and sales and all this. But yeah, I think in a lot of the time, we as dancers, we feel like we want to be heard a little more, because at
Exactly.
the end of the day, we're the one dancing the rep
Mm,
on stage. So it's exactly what you said, that, it is lovely when someone say, what do you want to dance? Like,
exactly. Yeah.
and that,
Yeah.
that feels rewarding because at the end of the day, it's a short career, and there's always going to be, I was speaking about this with Jamil the other day, that you can't dance it all in the way, at some point there's
Mm,
always going to be more creation and more full length and more roles. So yeah, having that chance to say, oh, I'd love to dance this, I think that's really important.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think Kat enjoys this interview
He
very much.
loves Zoom. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Is
He's like,
it a male or a female?
it's a male
Oh,
Apollo.
oh yeah, of course.
very gradually, and he's a COVID cat, so he got used to him for about his very young years. So he's just like, yeah.
He's so adorable. He doesn't bother me at all, but I'm just thinking he's loving the attention at the moment.
One that wants
But
to be.
Constance, but I see also you do other work as well. I mean, because you also are you now freelancing?
Yeah, so I'm freelancing since I left Scottish Ballet. I left to do the TV show Étoile with Prime Video.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
filmed over 9 months last year,
Mm.
uh, and it came out in May.
Okay.
Um, so that was really fun and completely different again because it's big screen, big budget, and and yeah, I think what was amazing is to see dance be put so beautifully onto such a big streaming platform that I I'm like finally someone, the executive producers and writers, Amy Sherman Palladino and Dan Palladino, they love dance so much. And in a way, they wanted it to be kind of a gift for dancers, for ballet dancers
Okay.
specifically.
Mm.
And I think that really translates on screen. So that was really amazing. And I had a gap. So I, yeah, I thought London City Ballet would be the perfect fit because I did miss the stage a fair
Okay.
bit
Mm.
from screen to stage, but I also teach and coach dancers.
Oh, really?
I love to do that.
Do you enjoy the teaching?
Yeah, I do. I think, yeah, if I can, help the next generation, I feel very fulfilled by that. And also selfishly, I think sometimes when you teach, it reminds you of things that you can then have to go and do yourself in the studio.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a lot of artists. I actually spoke to a singer just the other day who said the same thing and saying that, it makes you think again, when you start teaching because you have to sometimes question why certain things are
Yeah,
happening. Mm.
exactly. And I am also through the TV show, I got to do some acting. So I've done some master classes and training, and
Mm.
hopefully when my body gets older and tired, I'd love to be able to transition into acting for screen.
Into
Yeah.
acting. But I saw on your Instagram page, it's beautiful. The videos that you have there, or the pictures of, is that of that TV
TV
show?
show. Yes, yeah.
Mm.
So it's called Étoile, and it's available on Prime Video, Amazon Prime.
Oh,
There's
okay.
8 episodes, yeah, and it's written by so Amy and Dan Palladino. They wrote well, Amy wrote The Gilmore Girls, uh,
Mm.
which was quite a successful show, and lately The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, which is also a really good show.
Mm.
Uh, and those have got like 6 seasons, even more. So, oh my God, sorry. Uh,
No. Mm.
so yeah, and this one is really based on ballet, and I mean, it's, post-COVID, and even though it's not based on real, well, it's fiction,
Mm.
it feels real in a way.
Oh, really?
It's
Mm.
based on two companies, one called the Ballet National, which is loosely based on Paris Opera,
Mm.
and one called oh, it's gone off my head though. That's really bad. Uh, anyway, and
Yeah.
it's based on American Ballet Theatre, New York City type.
Oh,
Uh, and it's post-COVID, and both directors are struggling to get people back into their theaters and audience. And so they decide to swap their biggest talent, so they're sort of stars, dance stars, and choreographers to
I
try and
see.
revive the ballet world internationally and try to get it talked about. And yeah, so it's
Oh,
that's
that's
really
interesting.
the
Mm.
main subject, and then there's ins and out. And in the show, I have my own part as one of the dancers in the French side, in the French company. My character is called Melanie, but then I'm the body double, the dance double for Lou Delage, who's the main character.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, who's an actress that is from the Baroness and gets sent to It's called the Metropolitan Ballet Theatre. There we go. Yeah.
Oh, I saw, but I also saw, I read that you are a dance double, and I wondered how that
Yeah.
works.
So yeah, so I'm basically her body, and so she acts throughout the show. Her character's called Cheyenne, and I do the dance scenes. And we work
Wow.
closely with choreographers and the producers to really kind of um, make one out of two, and all the
Amazing. Mm.
production team do their magic behind the scenes. But yeah, it's really fun, really
But
cool.
that must be also a quite a different experience for you compared to stage.
Yes, completely, completely. It was tricky at first because the cameras pick up so much more
Really?
than when you're on stage, and so I had to really learn to sort of dim down my
Mm.
performances because there's no real audience actually when you're on
Okay. Mm.
screen. So you can't project it, and I realized it had to be a lot more intimate and actually a lot more truthful in a way.
Okay.
So that was a bit of adjustments. And it was amazing because the production team was really amazing. And I think even for, on their side, they were also learning, names of steps and things like this. So like it became really a choreography between the camera operator and the dancer.
Wow.
So yeah, that was actually amazing and kind of goes back to that collaboration with London City Ballet that it really when it's really collaboration between artists, between, production side and artists, I think it really uh, shows an amazing work, whether it's on stage or on screen. So it was really brilliant, and it's kind of a medium that I was excited to explore through dance because I think there's a lot more we can do with dance on screen, so dance on camera. So yeah, it was really fun. It was exciting. We filmed it in Paris and New York, so
But it's true. There's not a lot of dance films, or ballet type of ballet, where they use
yeah,
ballet.
yeah.
So I'm definitely going to have a look.
Yeah, have a look. No, it's fun. I mean, it's a comedy drama, so there is, I think with Emmy and Dan, their dialogue is very, very fast paced.
Mm.
So there's so many jokes that sometimes even when I'm watching it a second time, I'm like, oh my God, you're discovering new things, and that's really exciting. It's very fresh.
Yeah.
I found it very real. I think a lot of my friends who were not in the dance world was like, "Is that really how it is?" And I'm like, "Yeah, kind of."
Really?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
yeah, I think it shows the dance world in its truth place,
In
but
a true. Mm.
there are obviously stereotypes. It is TV and it's comedy drama, so it's got to be taken lightly, some of it. But I think it's meant to be fun. Yeah,
Mm. Yeah, because it's also sometimes some of these ballet films really wasn't true, it didn't tell the true story. So it's nice to hear that there's
yeah,
something that's closer to reality
yeah. No,
than we
absolutely.
than we
Yeah,
used to see.
they really understood, they really wanted to show real the ballet. So the Macmillan Troyes got involved, and we do a bit of the Romeo and Juliet balcony pas de deux. Valentine Troyes got
Okay.
involved. You see some of Ruby. So it was really true in its own form, and you even see Christopher Wilden in it.
Really?
Yeah, as himself,
Wow.
which is really great. And he choreographed a beautiful solo. for the character of Cheyenne, so that I dance, yeah, on in episode 8. So
Um,
it's really, yeah, it was really really
It's
fun,
gonna
really amazing
last.
experience.
This time it's gonna last forever, forever, forever.
Mm.
but for you as a dancer, I mean, this is always the question. It's, your career as a dancer is only up to a certain point, but you are almost, if I think about it, you're almost very slowly transitioning and seeing other possibilities and other options that you have. So does this make it easier for you to, to think, okay, there's a world outside ballet?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that the scariest thing really is, and I am, this is for me, but I suspect it's for all the performers and dancers, is not to find, that feeling ever again about being on stage. And once you retire, which is younger than in other most jobs, that is that fear of not finding something that you love. And so I think sort of thinking about what's next or exploring different things, I think kind of helps my mind into thinking, oh, there are way other things, and then I'll be fine. But yeah, I think for me I'm always worried about never finding that true feeling I have when I'm performing on stage, and actually with the acting, I you get that feeling. So
Really?
that was good. I think it was, yeah, it helped me. But I think it's it's really tough, that that transition, because as a dancer you start from such a young age and it's kind of all you know.
Okay.
Um, and you always talk about the identity dancer, but actually your identity of being whoever you are, woman, man, a person, and then a sister, a brother, mother, father. So there's so much more to it, and I think sometimes we get as dancers focused on that one identity as a dancer, and we don't see what else we are, and yeah, I think that can be what that can be bad in the sense when you get slightly older, when you get injured, you kind of lose who you are. So yeah.
And I spoke to Natasha Meyer, and she used to be also a principal dancer here at the Vienna State Ballet, but she's now doing stunt work. She's in the stunt industry, and
Yeah.
she said was that it's almost as if you had to put in so much work. You put in so much of your life into ballet that you think almost, I don't have the energy to do all that again for a new thing, for a new something,
Very true.
and I never thought of that, but I can imagine that it's almost like, poop, I have to start all over again now. So
Yeah,
uh,
I completely agree with her actually, and understand. Yeah, I think and in a way, I think it also goes into all the sacrifices, like you miss birthdays and Christmases and things,
yeah,
and in a way when you that stage career is done, I think you actually want to go back to all that, and you don't want to miss, anything, and you want your Saturdays back, and you want a weekend, and yeah, I think I understand that
yeah,
sort of feeling that you just want to enjoy every
mm,
moment. Um, yeah.
yeah. But Constance, what are your wishes now for the future? What is the new dream?
Yeah. Um, I'd love to do more acting and on screen. I'd love for Étoile to have a season 2.
Oh,
And,
yes.
yes, and
Mm.
and do a bit more with that. Because I think now it's everyone on especially all the dancers and the actors on set kind of all knew each other, and we talked about how we went we all met again at the premiere, and we all left and we were like, oh, this cannot be the end. So yeah, hopefully there will be more.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, I'd love to dive a little bit more into screen acting. And still performing on stage. I do with ballet nights a lot with Jamil, and then in between that, still teaching and coaching because I think that does fulfill me a lot when I'm not on stage.
Mm.
Um, and hopefully have a child at some point
Oh
in the near
yes,
future.
a little baby ballerina.
Yes, that's
And
a great, but
and but you have this wonderful opportunity now with London City Ballet to be flexible because I think you're only touring for 6 months, isn't it?
exactly, yeah. So the
Mm.
the season runs well, we started. This is our third week. And then we have a break in August. We touring kind of all the way until July. Then we start again in September and we finish kind of end of November. So yeah, it's from now to the end of November. And so yeah, and I think that does work for me actually a lot because it gives me time to sort of do the other things that I have in the pipeline and find some casting and auditions for acting and all of that. Yeah.
Amazing. Well, it's interesting in very interesting all the variety of things that you do. I think it's must somehow also overlap, the acting with the ballet and because I remember talking to somebody who said it was also a dancer who said actually since he started acting, he's also performing differently when he's doing ballet.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it unlocks different things. And I think especially in the more, the more not really modern. I mean, if I think about ballets like Macmillan, where there
Mm.
is this really ballet technique, but you've got to be a little bit more real and a bit more human. And new creation as well. You don't have to walk with pointed feet. You can just walk on stage, and I think that sort of theatrical movement and acting, the what I've learned with the acting training is you can just be in the moment and be truthful, which I think sometimes it's difficult to do that in dance because you rehearse it so much and
Oh
so much
yeah.
that in
Mm.
a way it's very easy to lose that being real in the moment aspect. Whether on TV you don't really have rehearsal, you just learn your lines and then go.
Yeah.
And I tricky at first because I was so used to rehearsing it for weeks and weeks. But actually now I understand
Mm.
the the positive of not rehearsing and being true in the moment and being you. And then sort of bringing that into ballet, I think can really help to keep the performance fresh and alive,
Mm.
shows after shows, because that can always be tricky. Otherwise, you go into automatic pilot and it doesn't, the audience, then, that connection is lost because it's not real. So yeah, that really helped me into just, yeah, being true. And sometimes, that means it might change as a gesture and hopefully your partner goes with it, but in a way that keeps it alive, versus just doing exactly the same thing over and over again. Yeah,
Well, maybe this is what you can bring to the ballet world now. Yeah,
that'd be great.
that will be your thing.
Yes, true.
Well, Constance, thank you so much for your time. It was so lovely to talk to you. And where's Kat? What's Kat's name?
Apollo.
Apollo. Okay. Oh wow. Oh, well, it was nice to talk to Apollo as well. Very easy.
No, no, you won't shy.
Yes. Yes. Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Apollo, you are a beautiful cat.
The leaves of brown came tumbling down, remember, in September, in the rain. The sun went out just like a dying ember. That September in rain. To every word of love I heard you whisper. The raindrops seem to play a sweet refrain. Though spring is here to me, it's still September. Ooh, that September in rain. To every word of love I heard you whisper. The raindrops seem to play a sweet refrain. Though spring is here, to me it's still September. That September in rain.